Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Helmut, and I am here with my beautiful friends again, the Loras, Laura Keddy and Laura Philpott. Hi, guys.
Hello.
And my wonderful, beautiful wife, Kay,
Hello.
who just finished writing another book. Yeah. The, the
I'm
recent book.
celebrating.
I- we're all celebrating.
Yeah, we are. But today we came together to share some Red Door success stories. Kay is the creator of the Red Door, as many of you probably know. And she has been working with it, what, probably for 30 years? No, yeah, created it in about 30 years, early 90s, and then continuously kept developing and improving and has been using it since then in pretty much all her healing work, I would say. And then the Loras came in many years ago too. I don't even know anymore. And then they went full force on it too because of the results they were seeing for themselves, their family, their friends, and clients. And so, because we're doing a mini course on the Red Door at the end of the month, at the beginning of next month, which is we are in March 2024. So the mini course is starting early April, and it will be available online. So if you watch this later, you can still go there and get access to it. But today we're gonna share success stories that these beautiful ladies had with the Red Door. And it's gonna be pretty amazing, I think. And Laura Philbott she has said she wants to get started. So she's gonna start us off. Hi again, everybody, and have fun.
I am so grateful for the red door. I had started using it for my son. And in the course of using it for my son, I noticed that I was sharing all the different things that I was seeing with my son. And my mom ended up saying, I'm interested in red door. And she ended up getting one. And I was putting rates and stuff in for her. And we were treating various health challenges. But one day, Kay says, I have this coherence program I'd really like you to try. And I had told my mom, I said, hey, we got this coherence rate going to come in. I don't know when it is, but you okay if I try it in your bowl? And she was like, yeah. And so I didn't know exactly when it was going to come in, but I got it and I put it in the evening before I went to bed. And then in the morning, I got a phone call and she goes, did you put something new in my bowl? Because I feel great. I feel absolutely wonderful. I got up, I got dressed, I put my makeup on. I just looked great. I put lipstick on too. And she had been dealing with some PTSD and some anxiety because of a forest fire that had burned our family home. And she was in a bit depression. And I'm telling you, it was the next day and she didn't even know I put it in. She was just so excited. And she actually goes, I need to put the camera on. So she took FaceTime on and we were looking at it. So she wanted to show me how beautiful she was. And just her whole energy had changed just from that one program.
Oh man,
Yeah, it
beautiful.
was fun. It was fun to see just a huge change. And now when I see one of my kids that have a little bit of anxiety or stress, I'll pull everything out of their bowl and put the coherence rate in. Now I already have the coherence rate in their bowls, but sometimes just taking it all of them out and just putting the coherence rate in is exactly what they need, and it just calms them down. I do that for me too.
Yeah.
Want me to keep sharing?
I remember I got those since we're talking coherence, the magical program. The bowls are incredible. But Kay, was it 2000 that you wrote the first coherence programs? It was about then, and she let my husband and I test them. And you sent them to us, and I put the coherence programs in a bowl for my husband and I, and we have a shared office. And he's sitting next to me, and 15 minutes in to having these coherence programs, we both look at each other, and I'm like, do you feel that? And yeah. He goes, wow. It's like his terms. It's like I'm caffeinated and stoned at the same time. In that I'm like, my language, it was like it was like you're so relaxed and alert at the same time. And it was just like you suddenly, those coherence programs in the bowl made me suddenly realized how loud my body had been prior to that, how much conversation, and how I always say that those coherence programs felt like my body was in beginning band. Every organ was making its own, like that pepperoni pizza concert that those kids go through. It's like every kid is on a different rhythm. It was like beginning band. And you put those coherence programs, and it's suddenly like all your organs and your mind is moved into symphony mode. Like they're all working together and you're able to focus better. And that's why it's this, once those coherence programs go in, client after client, it was like I found you never want those out again. It was just like you want those to keep broadcasting to you, because that's just, I get why Lora said they're just so calming. It was, having dealt with anxiety most of my life, it was just delicious for the first time. Can't say enough about coherence.
Beautiful. Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.
Kay, you want to throw anything else about coherence too?
Yeah, when I was creating them, they came to me in batches, but the one that they're talking about is the very first one, and it was an experiment. It was a trial. I had no idea whether the way I put it together, it's a word program, so it's all words, just a number or two in there here or there. But it has to do with how the whole mixture is written out and what it's creating, and asks the bowl to create inside the person it's being broadcast to. And so this was just an experiment. And I asked them if they wanted to be part of the experiment. And of course, Helmut and myself, and plopped me and Helmut into our bowls, with just that in the bowl. We can't have other things going on in that particular bowl, or the information gets too complex. They can't figure out what you're feeling from the new piece you put in there. So take everything out, put those in there, and wow, we could both really feel it. And then I got really excited and eager to write up the rest of the things that I had in mind, which I did. But I'd love hearing the feedback stories, and that every time I've used that first program in anybody's bowl that I'm working on, because I do a lot of healing on clients, and they all feel it. They can feel the difference, and they could feel the difference if it got out of their bowl. It gets out of their bowl, and they just notice it. It's like something got unplugged, and they hear from them right away. Please put me back in the bowl. I've even had people say, I have to stop. I can't have the bowl going anymore. And so I need to stop. And so I take everything out, and I take that one out, and I hear from them right away. Put me back in, put me back in. Oh,
Thank you, Kay. Beautiful. Beautiful start with the coherence stuff. Very nice. I'm going to display real quick the QR code for the course if you want to go there and catch that, see what that's about, and sign up, go through it. It's free. Like I said, we're going to record that and stream that live in the first week of April this year, but it'll be there after. CatastleRedDoor.com, mini course registration. And then on top, on the left top there, you have the QR code. All right, who's next? Laura? Okay. Let's go.
Yeah, I'd love to share some more.
Yay.
In the course of me learning how to do the red door, of course, I'm sharing it with some other autism moms. And I was actually working with a few of their kiddos, but one particular autism mom called me up and said, I'm having an asthma attack. And my husband's out of town. And so I'm the only one with my son. And I'm really reluctant to go to the emergency room. And breathing's important. And everything was closing down. She goes, I'm really close to calling an ambulance. Can you help me out? I said, I'll do the best I can. That emergency, get the rates in the bowl and see what happens kind of thing. And I said, you still might have to go. Is there anybody you can call that can watch your kiddo? She said, nope, I'd have to pack us both up. So I said, okay, I'll let you go. And we text back and forth. And I put in the rates. And within 20 minutes, she's like, oh, I feel so much relief. And I've had the same kind of thing with, I just talk about what I'm doing. It's out of the norm, but everybody perks up their ear, especially people that are highly sensitive. And this other person was having reactions to perfumes, and she works in the community, out in social community, and people will come in with a bunch of perfume and she said, I can't breathe. My lungs close off. I have the anxiety because of it. I'm closing down. I got to go home or I need some help. And so just the other day, she had called me and says, I need some help. And so I put the rates in the bowl that indicated she needed it. And she said almost instantly, I felt so much better. And so now she knows that I can put these rates in. I didn't have the exact perfume, but I just wrote out a statement, toxic to life stuff from the lungs. And it worked. And she called me just again the other day. I need help again. I was like, okay, I got you. And I've had several people that lung stuff besides perfume or asthma. I've had other things as well, which I'll share a little bit later.
All right, beautiful. Before we go to the next, quick disclaimer. We should have mentioned that in the beginning, but here it is. We do not provide medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. We do share the ancient teachings approach to living a healthy, happy, passionately fulfilled life. There it is. Who is next? Laura.
I'll go next. Every time Laura shares something, it reminds me of something similar. And I have my whole list of other things, but I think one of the things is the ease of use and the quickness that the bowl can handle stuff. I woke up in the middle of the night with, I believe, liver pain or pancreas pain. At the time, I didn't know it was both, but incredibly sharp kniving pain to my side, incredible. And the bowl keeper in our home, but my husband's danced this. I started in 2015, and he sees enough to know you put things in the bowl. And the pain was excruciating. Woke me up in the middle of the night. I woke him up. And I realized how much my life has changed. What I would have, and again, this is not medical advice. This is what I did. My past life, it would have been a 911 call. It was that level of pain. But my new life was telling my husband to get my bowl. And you see the bowls. Luckily, I got them labeled. And so he could find my bowl. And I said, you need to write stop pain and put that in the bowl. And he did that. All he wrote was stop pain. But his intent was so strong. I tell you, I don't like being unwell, but he really doesn't like me unwell. And he put that in. Just the second it hit, it started alleviating. And I would say within 10 minutes, I was able to be mobile enough to go and address all the issues myself I needed for my bowl, which turned out it was just, I basically triggered a liver detoxing that stressed the liver out so bad that in some ways it could have been failing. And to go from that severe pain to being able to actually walk into another room, sit down, douse, and figure out what you need. By the next morning, I felt like someone had kicked me in the side. And then by the next day, it was all gone. It was completely gone. And there's been other times with him, he gets nosebleeds, and I just write stop hemorrhaging and throw it in the bowl, or stop cramping. It's simple, like I'm pretending exactly what I'm doing. You write those words on a piece of paper and put it in, and it goes to work on those things, if that's what what is truly happening is. But the stop bleeding, I keep that one handy now. In fact, I have it in the bowl all the time for him. For more than one reason. He's a little clumsy, but no, just the ease of some really significant things in our life. We just I the first thing we ever think of anymore is, what do we need to put in the bowl when things come up, that we go to the bowl first to address most of those needs.
All right. Beautiful. Great. Thank you. Who wants to go next?
I'll go. I'm going to talk about my very first experience with the bowls itself when I was still creating them and figuring out what's the proper dimensions and materials and etc. And I had a test model there, and we lived in this little teeny apartment. We were just married, and we're in this little teeny one-bedroom apartment, and my whole setup was on the against the wall. On the other side of the wall was the bedroom and the bed, and that's where he was. And he caught the flu, and he was moaning and groaning, and he had a high fever, and he felt really bad. I decided to test what should go in the bowl to relieve this, and I was testing away, and I kept dropping the things in, and after just a couple of minutes, I wasn't even through the list of what to test for, but after just a couple of minutes, I heard the voice yelling through the wall, "What did you do? I feel much better. I'm getting up." And he was almost entirely over the flu in just those few minutes, that whatever I had thrown in there was absolutely necessary to balance his body out and make things better. So that was really exciting. Uh, um, as my teacher used to say, the proof is in the pudding. And the pudding was yelling a different story now.
That was beautiful. Just to emphasize, I was really moaning and couldn't do anything. But beautiful. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, moaning like the neighbors could hear you. Yeah. And disturbing the cat. We had just gotten a kitten too.
Fun times. Thank you. Who's next? Laura?
I'll go next. Yeah. I want to share one of my most dramatic stories. So I was just learning about the red door, and Laura had helped me with my son. But I really hadn't really learned too much on how to actually utilize it, but I knew that it could help clear a space. At the time, my son was going to a particular school, and when he got there, he would have such anxiety that literally he would kick at the door and threaten to hit people. And you could just, he would like, his whole demeanor would turn angry. And right across the street was a church too. So I thought, I got this red door. I'm going to bring it and I'm going to sit outside. And I sat out there for 2.5 hours with the red door open. And when he came out, so he went in kicking and angry and unhappy. And when he came out, he had the biggest smile on his face. And he said, the best day he's had in over a year. And like, wow, this stuff is powerful. Totally changed his experience. So I did that. And the very next day, when he went to go in, he just went right in as happy as go lucky as can be. And it just kept going that way. Now, every once in a while, I would just for good measure, I'd bring that bowl and open it up. But the rest of the time he'd go there, he was happy. That was a dramatic change and a dramatic experience for him. He's highly intuitive to begin with, and maybe there was just energies around that just needed to be cleared that was affecting him. But he was never that way again after having the bowl open. I still want my mouth drops open when I think about it. And how much did it help him and how much did it help me? Worth every penny, I'm gonna say. Every single penny.
Wow, that is amazing. The difference for your son and everybody really, and you.
Yeah. In fact, I think it helped all of the students. We had a meeting directly after it. It was like a couple days later, they had an IEP meeting, and they were like, "Are you guys doing something different? What are you guys doing that's different?" And I just learned about this, so I wasn't really in gonna share exactly what I was doing. I would share now, apparently. Huge difference. Huge.
Nice. Beautiful. Thank you. Okay. Laura.
Yeah, since on the topic, since Laura, I love following Laura's stories. On the topic of clearing spaces with the bowl, I use the bowl a lot to clear spaces, and people will find me to clear their space with the bowl. And I used to traditionally smudge, go through the room and smudge, and even journey in and see the things I can find. And since the bowl, it cleans spaces, no matter how big the space is, incredibly clear. I had one person reach out to me and asked me, their kids weren't sleeping. They moved into a new home. The kids were frightened. They thought they were seeing ghosts, and just totally disturbing energy for the whole family. And no one was sleeping because everybody was in the parents' beds all together every night. And I cleared the space, and that night, everybody slept sound. Just it slept so sound, and continued to after the clearing. I believe they're a bowl owner now because of just for the clearing fact. It was priceless to be able to sleep, and that when you can use the bowl to clear a space. I actually not sure if it that friend, but a person who was having trouble selling their home found me. Their home, they kept getting close to being able to get an offer or closing, and it kept falling through in a significant amount of time. I think there was like 4 or 5 times the offers had fallen through, and the person was desperate. They already had their other home, and so they contacted me, and I cleared the space for them using the bowl. They I think had just decided to do one other change. I forget what they did, but it was within like 2 days of me clearing, they got an offer and closed on the house. And they said the people walked in, the other realtor who took the people on the tour, the people walked in and said, "This house just feels great," was the quote unquote. And yeah, I've got a good gig clearing houses for realtors now. But it does though. I use the bowl oftentimes when there's family gatherings. It's pretty. And so you can just set it up somewhere open during the family politic conversation. And it's amazing how it clears the space. And I've noticed that when I have a bowl broadcasting one of the families gathering, that the debates are gentle. Everybody gets along a little bit better. Everybody's trying to get along a little bit better. And so just using it in the way for your home and your home's cleanliness and that lack of anxiety, like Laura was saying, people kind of puke thought forms everywhere. They drop them here and drop them there, and they come in your home. And my home's pretty clear, but the second they've been here, you can feel the air changing, and just opening up the bowl, which means no programs in the bowl. It's just empty of everything. And that clearing it does in the space, it's lovely. Absolutely wonderful, and one of the best juices. Thank you, Kay. Every time at the end of this, I just feel like I need to say thank you, Kay, again.
Beautiful. Thank you, Laura.
Beautiful.
Who goes next?
I'll go.
Okay. Give me a minute, a second. Here you go.
Okay. This is one of my earlier healings. My I guess we had just moved here into Santa Fe, and that puts it like 24 years ago. And I got this call, I guess it was call back then, from Hawaii, and it was about a young girl. She was still a teenager, and she had been a surfer and very active, and she had with her sister, they were stripping this piece of furniture, and they were even outside, and they were, because that stuff is pretty potently toxic, and somehow she got that chemical that takes all the junk off the furniture. She got it in her eyes, both eyes, and she went legally blind. She could still make out some light and some color and some form and movement, but she was legally blind. She had mostly detached retinas, one worse than the other. And some of the cones had been destroyed. So we started working on her, and I worked on her. She was in the bowl constantly. I probably had more than one bowl going for her. And at that time, I didn't have too many bowls yet. So I had allocated most of my collection to her because it was such a severe problem. And she had already had it for a while. She didn't come to me immediately when this happened. She'd been to the doctors a number of times, and they'd put her on prednisone of strong dose, which is really bad, really awful stuff. And it wasn't doing anything. But after a week or two, working constantly in the bowl, checking it all the time, testing to see what her body needs, what her eyes need, what the retinas needed, all that stuff over and over on a very regular basis, and changing the bowl, she started to be able to see again. And after a couple of months, she was not legally blind anymore in either eye. But this young lady was so tenacious that even when she was legally blind, she was still surfing. I don't know how she did it. She must have been feel, when the light and the feel. But she loved surfing so much she refused to stop. And she's determined to see again. And the bowl did it for her. So this was a really severe problem. Usually, what most doctors will tell you, that if your retina starts getting detached, or you're losing the cones, that kind of stuff cannot be repaired, never comes back. But here they saw it, because she kept going to the doctors and getting all these fancy tests. And she had some of the most expensive, elaborate tests that were available at the time. And they could see it, and that she could prove it by telling people what she saw and taking vision tests. And I have machines that test the eyes very accurately. That her eyesight actually was better at the very end of the healing time, which was, we went on for months. She just wanted to stay in the bowl. She didn't want to get out. She didn't want to take any chances or anything. I had her in there for quite a while, working on her all the time. And her eyesight was better. One of the eyes was better than 2020, and the other one had improved quite a bit from the time before the accident. That kind of vision that she had before the accident. She had pretty good sight, but there was a little bit of problems there. But they started to correct themselves with the bowl. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, I remember, beautiful story. I always loved that. And I remember that the first time that the reversal started to happen, the doctor was totally amazed. They couldn't believe it, what she was doing.
He was quite willing to take credit for it, although he had no idea what he had done that did that.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you, Kay. Beautiful. Who goes next? Okay, Laura.
I'm like, wow, wow, you're inspiring me to work on my own eyes. I've been working with this one lady that has Lyme disease, and she was having weekly migraines and the muscle weakness, cognitive decline. She had some co-infections like babesia, where you wake up in the middle of the night, oxygen deprived. Now, not, it's just trying to get oxygen in there. And so far, the migraines are almost all gone. The muscle weakness is just like 99% better. The cognitive functions are better as well. Let's see. And it's just so much more energy. Before, she could only go up a flight of stairs and then she was just winded and her muscles were just like cramping. And even if it was just the migraines that had decreased, because if you've had a migraine, it can affect you for a day or two, and then you're like wiped out for 3 days, and then imagine doing it again and then again. So a huge change in quality of life. It just, uh, I'm always just sometimes still amazed. Yeah, I got a huge list of these things. And
Yay.
I'm in awe always, and I'm so grateful.
Thank you. Beautiful. Laura.
Yeah, that Laura's list. I've got the huge list too.
We'll
And
be
just
at it for a while.
yeah, I was about to say, and it grows daily. Uh, a friend of mine wanted in the bowl, and so I'd been talking to her, and that was in the beginning when I was looking for the next guinea pig. I had Reg, I had me, I had the cats, had some chickens and the properties all in the bowl. So I needed another person. So I worked on her. And she now has bowls too herself. And she had a friend suddenly reach out to me who was a grandmother, and her granddaughter this woman's granddaughter was in Korea in the hospital, and they had no idea what was wrong with her. Her body just started crashing. Different things were shutting down. And so they had her in the hospital, and it was in Korea. So it was like 17 hours difference ahead, I believe, than us. And so this woman was flying over, and she said, would you please? Would you please? And her daughter, the mother of this child, was a nurse too. And even she was like, they can't figure it out. Can you? And that was the first time I was like, okay, I can, I don't know this person. Let's let, any child in need, there's no way I'm going to say no. It was, and so that was the first time, or more, we shouldn't say the first time, but it was like the most significant time where I learned how much information these bowls provide. It's not just the broadcasting out to do the healing. It was the information, 17 hours, countries away from each other. The bowl was able to communicate with me what the problem was by following. Kay lays out this protocol, and you follow the steps just by dousing with a pendulum and asking questions. I learned before the doctors there knew what was going on with her body. I found this nanobacterial infection. I found it, learned what it was, then Googled to learn more about what it was, and got those things in the bowl, and all the things that, that she needed to go with it, including clearing and eliminating that. And they were all asleep while I'm emailing them back what I found. And they were floored that later that day, the doctors came in and said it was the same thing I found, but I was ahead of them and already on it. And so talk about credit. she miraculously was already healing before they got all the things into her that they needed and stuff. But it floored the mother, who was a nurse, and the grandmother, who I've since helped with broken legs and broken toes. Their family's hotline to call whenever anything. They want to heal faster. It's not just about healing, it's about healing faster. But yeah, this little girl is now a teenager and was traveling the world when she was literally, her body was shutting down. It's pretty scary, but it was amazing. But it's just so cool that it's not just about healing something. It's about finding answers that don't require blood tests. Invasive procedures don't have to be cut up, drawn out, taken something that's harmful to the body to get answers about what's going on. It's just the ease of protocol. It takes time. You got to spend there asking the right questions and know the right questions to ask. But the answers are all there. It's amazing. Thank you, Kay.
That's beautiful story. Thank you, Laura. Okay, this may be a good time to share Walter's story.
Oh, Walter. Yeah, relative, Walter. I don't know if I actually ever met Walter. Is a relative of Helmut's living in Europe. I may have met him when I was over there, but I don't think so. But you can do these things long distance. Laura's little girl was in Korea and she was here in the States. The distance doesn't mean anything to the bowl because it works outside of time and space. It works on scalar waves. Walter's in Europe and we're here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and he gets mysteriously sick. And he goes to a lot of doctor stuff and hospital stuff and all the tests, and they can't find out what's wrong with him. He's losing so much weight. The picture that he sent us for me to use as part of the witness that connects the bowl to him, he was just like skin and bones. It was scary looking. And he just really couldn't get out of bed much or do anything, wasn't eating right, couldn't digest anything right. It's like everything was going wrong. And so I did the lists and tested with the pendulum with the bowl, going down the list to try to find what is it, where's his in his body, and how strong is it, all this different stuff, different questions. And what I found was a parasite, Chagas, which is unusual and rare and is found sometimes in sort of Central Eastern Europe. And some of those countries had recently opened up to the West. And he went there for a vacation and, and came back sick. He'd picked up the Chagas parasite over there. And of course, once he's getting depleted, he's picking up more parasites and other bacteria, and the opportunistic germs just start moving in. There's a free lunch there, so they come and gather. And so I was broadcasting to him with the Red Door Bowl, and he got better. And he got better really fast and thoroughly. Really, everything getting better and better than it was before he got sick. And I actually had to do that twice with Walter because he went to a similar place to vacation a bunch of years later, caught Chagas again, got sick, but he knew to call us to get back in the bowl immediately and treat that. Just feels so incredibly good to be able to help people in that way. It's astounding. And I have many years of stories like that. while he's taking am I still on?
You are.
Oh, good. Okay, I'll tell another story. And this one's about a guy on the East Coast, and he had a bad storm in his area, and it blew this giant pine tree down on the road, and just whoom, just covered the road so no cars could go past or anything. And he tried to move that pine tree by himself, and he had a chainsaw, and so he was trying to cut smaller pieces, and he got impatient, and he was trying to move this really big log, and he was not already he was not in shape to do that kind of a thing. But you know how these guys are when they get a little older and they haven't kept up with their exercises and stuff, but they still think they're 20 and they can muscle what they can do with their body. And he slipped some discs. One in particular was really bad, totally slipped like it squirted right out of the vertebrae, popped, and it was in pieces, and its contents is very thick liquid. And so it was like oozing and dripping out down the spine. And there were shards of this that were threatening to poke into the spinal cord. And he was in incredible pain. He couldn't do anything, move, nothing. And so I got to working on him, and he was working with his his Jewish doctor friend. And the doctor, he got really brave. He told his doctor about me and the bowl and these healings. And his doctor was really into it, which was really shocking because most of them are not. But being a very traditional Jewish man, the surgeon, if he ever had trouble, really bad trouble, he always went to his rabbi and had them do these energy healings, psychic healing. There's some Jewish tradition with psychic healing. So he really believed in it. He understood it. And I described the pictures that I saw when I was working on him about his spine and where the pieces were and the threatening piece and the goop. And as I was working on it, I was getting the pieces to come back up and the goop to come back up and get all back together again and not be threatening anymore, and starting to seal up. And normally they would not seal up back together. They don't, once that disc goes in modern medicine, they say that it cannot seal back up and grow back together again. And there's a lot of conditions like that they believe, but I think they just haven't found how to encourage them to grow back together. He was doing really well, and he was scheduled for surgery, and he wanted to go through with the surgery. And for him, that was good. Psychologically, that was something he really needed to do to fix things in his own mindset, to finish it off. Talked the doctor into taking a new x-ray, or it might have been an MRI. I don't know which thing they used, but it was something that they could see this disc really well with all the chips and all the goop. And when the goop is dripping down, you really want to get it out of there because it kind of poisons things when it's going in a place where it doesn't belong. It's real hard on the tissues there. But had been collecting together, just all the pieces just collecting together, backing up and going back into where they belong. And so before the doctor went into surgery with him and was to open him up, they used the x-rays and stuff as a guide to guide them, their knife, where they're going, and to see how deep and how far and how wide and all that stuff. They count on those test pictures a great deal. So he talked that doctor into taking brand new tests right before the surgery. He saw the difference that that the bowl had made, the healings had made, and so he had a whole new approach about doing the surgery. When he this guy up, sure enough, it was just exactly the way that I described it. So the bowl had been really working hard. And as soon as I put him in the bowl, his pain level changed greatly, just tremendously.
Beautiful.
So
That's a great story. Yeah, I hope this doesn't come true. We have a little background noise here. But I wanted to add to Walter's story because I was a bit, I was interrupted there. One of the things I wanted to add is he was a really strong guy and really active. He worked on his farm. He ran on the farm. He cut down trees and made firewood and really strong. Did rock climbing, everything. And when we got the picture, we couldn't believe it. If they didn't ask us sooner, and I don't know why, but they probably didn't know exactly how beautiful this can work. But when they did, and we saw his pictures, like Kay said, skin and bones, and it was shocking. But he got back again to his former self, which was really beautiful to see.
and
Thank
then
you,
his
Kay.
mother, oh yes, his mother got so excited that every time she was sick with something, had a pain, somebody else got sick, everything was call Kay, call Helmut. We have to get in the bowl.
That's true.
One of her stories is she's quite a bit older and seemed to be failing with that age. And we got her in the bowl and started working on her. And she felt so much better that this was pushing towards Christmas time or Easter. I don't remember which it is. Anyway, it's a traditional um, part of the year that the people in their area would do their cleaning, the big deep house cleaning, like spring cleaning kind of thing, scrubbing walls. And here she was, they couldn't make her stop. She was up on some kind of a step ladder or something. She's scrubbing all the walls and just going to town, getting everything really clean. And can't beat that. She must have been in her 60s or 70s at the time, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, that was another great story. We're going to have the Loras jump in here and mute ourselves. Our noise doesn't come through so heavy. Okay, who wants to go? Thank you, Kay.
I'll go again.
Laura. Okay.
I got one of those emergency phone calls saying my friend is really sick and he's at the hospital, and we're consulting with a specialist that she knew. And meanwhile, her consult with the specialist had said he has necrotic pancreatitis, and basically he didn't think he was going to survive. And they called me up and said, "Hey, maybe you could do a little something with your red door." I get quite a few phone calls now. Anyway, I said, "Okay, I'll try as long as I have permission." And yeah, I pendulum got the rates in the bowl and everything. And it took a day, and he started to get better, and it just steadily got better and better. And the doctors were surprised the next day that he was even still with them. And he was there for a while, but he ended up going home. And from what I hear, that doesn't happen very often. Yeah, the doctor was like, "Oh, brace yourselves." And yeah, got him in the bowl. And
Wow.
yeah, it is really amazing. And he's not the only pancreatitis thing that I've worked with. There's another one that just had constant diarrhea, and I just worked with the pancreas, and within days, 100% better. And she had constant diarrhea kind of thing, and it was just her pancreas was just really stressed. Oh, I love the idea that I can go and consult with the red door, put that witness packet in there and go and just start asking questions. And sometimes I get in there as I didn't even see that coming. Now, I know you're not supposed to have any kind of assumptions or expectations kind of thing. You're just supposed to step in there and just start asking questions. Really? Like, okay, you know what? I just trust it now. You just put stuff in and wow. And I have yet to be disappointed, to be perfectly honest.
Can you pause for a minute?
Beautiful. Thank you, Laura. You want to go, Laura?
Yeah, I can go. Yeah, again, in the early days, I was so after getting more and more comfortable with not just myself but the other people, my husband came to me, and his dear friend had ended up in the ER, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he was suddenly diabetic, insulin dependent diabetes, and couldn't maintain weight. And I knew this gentleman. I'd seen him. He's just young and strong, and he worked in farming with my husband. So I said, yeah. And him and his wife came, and it was again one of those things where he probably was 2/3 of the weight he should be. Just it looked like death, and them bringing this one strong guy in, and so I started working on him. I learned that it wasn't just his pancreas, suddenly this diabetes, but that he had been on thyroid medicine prior to this episode. Thyroid medicine, and a few months earlier, they had discovered Crohn's. And so they'd put him on Crohn's medication. And so it's again that deep dive in using the bowl. His one thing that hadn't been brought up and that the bowl found, and that's what Laura alluded to. I always find the most accurate things are the things that I were not expecting, that weren't on the list of things. And there were some things on the list, because basically nothing on the list of things to run on him said Crohn's or thyroid. There was some pancreas stuff, but a lot of things on the list was detoxing and pathogens. And I got him on a keto diet too. Of course, that was encouraged him to go keto. But spleen was one of the main. They're like, his spleen numbers were super low and needed a lot of attention. And so I'm like, that was that first time of like really trusting. Like we always say, the bull said to put these things in. And so you just do. I follow the protocol. The wildest things are probably the most accurate things. And he immediately got better. Within 4 weeks, reduced insulin, off thyroid medication altogether, and off Crohn's. In fact, that within 6 weeks, I think it was 4 to 6 weeks, his wife came to see me with pre-X-rays of his colon where there was the Crohn sores. And I still have the X-rays. I have trouble understanding them, so I have to read that. I don't know what I'm looking at. But the other one I could tell was healthy. And you can read the information, and the doctors were just flabbergasted. That's how he got off the Crohn's medication. They're like, he didn't need it. Like they were basically saying some of the discharge in his colon could be precancerous and all this and all this stuff. And it was just gone. These x-rays show healthy tissue, and you can see little scars maybe where the sores were before. But I never once put in a rate for Crohn's, which was interesting to me. It was like that always comes back to follow the protocol. The results are what the results are. You're seeing it. And that became that family now has 3 bulls, one for each of them and one for their daughter. Because it was Miguel never wanted back out of the bowl once he was in. He was just like, he was set, and his wife had things that now she wanted to address. And their teenage daughter is a future bowler in herself. She's eager to maybe make a go at this one day. It's pretty beautiful. It's to see him not on deathbed, but he was back to farming work, hard physical farming work where they didn't know what they were going to do. So again, thank you, Kay.
Beautiful,
There-
Laura. Thank you. Laura Philpott, you want to go again? Because we still have noise here.
I'd love to. So
Okay.
I've been working with a gentleman on the autism spectrum that's been dealing with pandas. And pandas is, I'm going to have to read this because I can never remember it exactly. It's pediatric autoimmune neuropsychiatric disorder, which means basically the body has strep in it that's stuck. And when his body gets stressed, it causes anxiety, severe anxiety for him, and like anxiety attacks, and just can't go anywhere. And then there's a whole bunch of sensory issues and stuff as the body's trying to deal with it. But that's one of the things I love about the red door is I can put in rates to help clear the strep from the body, which can hide in all different kinds of places. And so that constant anxiety has definitely greatly been reduced, and the flares that were going, every once in a while the body just get flared up. And we'd also noticed that it was causing inflammation in the brain, and so it was dealing with inflammation in the brain as well. But that not being able to go anywhere and that constant anxiety and almost like the fight or flight response, those cortisol levels were just over the roof. Huge difference in his life from having those constant not be able to go anywhere or do anything because he had just way too much anxiety. Yeah, we're still working with that one, but making a huge difference, I think. Decrease in moodiness, decrease in anxiety attacks, and just a lot more calm. So that's huge, seriously. Because the only other way that they often treat it is antibiotics. If you can even get it diagnosed, you have some sort of strep throat or something, and then all of a sudden it just overtakes you. And oftentimes they don't even know exactly what it is. With the red door, you can go, oh, looks like it's strep. It's in the body. And see what we can do with that.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Who's next?
I'll go.
All right.
Yeah, our noise seems to be finished. So, so I'll go. I want to talk about our cat, Alice. She has since died of old age, but this is way back. And she loved the outside. She just adored it. She loved hunting. She loved being out there at night and traveling around through the bushes. It was a jungle to her, but there were bushes. And she came in one day and she was dragging the bottom half of her body and she was meowing really pitifully and just said in cat meows, help, I feel really bad. I really hurt. My legs won't work. My back of my body won't work. And, so we got her on a chair and got her in the bowl. And the bowl said that she had gotten rodent poisoning, mouse rat poison, which some of the neighbors that they just did that all the time because this is a desert and there are rodents out there and they have that opportunity. They'll get into your house. And so their solution was to poison them. But what they don't realize is that the wildlife, like the coyotes or the bobcats or the neighbor's house cat or even the neighbor's dog, is liable to get a hold of that animal and try to eat it or at least get some bites into it. And they end up getting the poison. And so it was mostly arsenic. And we've managed to clear that out. And she was, before we went to bed, she was looking close to normal, tired, worn out, tired, probably a little bit of healing left to go. We don't let those appearances fool us. The bowl says she needs to stay in the bowl. We keep her in the bowl. And of course, she had her own bowl always. That's just the way it is. That being mostly it was broadcasting kind of normal health stuff and counteracting some little things she might run into or anti-fleas and other bugs and all that stuff. But we took all that stuff out and put in just the stuff to get the poison out and to heal the bottom half of the body that seemed to have gotten a bigger hit than the rest. And that was a very scary moment for us because um, we really liked Alice the cat. She was very special. But by next morning, she was normal, eating, drinking water, seemed all normal. Uh, what more can you ask? We're always wondering, what would we be like if we never had the bowl? If we, what kind of health problems would we have totally succumbed to by now? Because we've had a doozy list of our own issues and problems. The bowls are great. They're super for detoxing. And both Helmut and I have had a great deal of toxin exposures in our life and a lot of toxins building up in our body, mercury in our teeth, and all that kind of stuff. And the bowl has been a real a lifesaver. What can I say? Uh, it's not a medical diagnosis. That's just obvious because I'm still here. I'm here and still bowling.
I think that's an important point with our own health. We were still okay, but we were going down like most people, getting older, and then on the path to falling apart and not have much chance to get better. We feel better now than we did in our 20s. There was one, and all the tired, we had to take naps. I had to take naps. Kay had a time where she couldn't move. She was in so much pain that she could not get out of bed. These were rough times, and it's all just distant memory. One time we had a friend we haven't seen for 10 years, and he ran into us. So we ran into him and said, "You haven't aged."
He was very surprised. He was looking at us as like, you haven't aged. What's wrong with you? I mean, he didn't say what's wrong with you, but that was how it came out. That was the expression. Like, this is a big surprise. What have you been doing? Yeah.
And another thing I wanted to add, and we are past an hour. I would like to keep going, but whatever you guys want. But I hope the enormity, the gravity of relief that is being shared and offered, and that you yourself can initiate for yourself, comes across, because the stories are how deeply lives are impacted very often, very rapidly. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Kay. Thank you, Laura's. Next story. Anybody? Both of you. Okay. Which one wants to go first?
I'll go
I'll
first.
pick.
Come on, do
Okay.
it. Once people find out that you do this modality, you get phone calls. And some people you don't even know. They're like, they talk to so and so and so and so and so because they had some success. And I have treated, okay, I'm going to say treated. I have worked with 7 people that were on ventilators, and all of them have gone home. And there was one, the 8th one, that I didn't get until they'd been on there for a very long time. And I can't say that the red door didn't help them, because when I got in there, they were done. They didn't, yeah. That's why you always need permission. But yeah, 7 people clearly on the ventilator and really sick, and they all ended up going home, which to me is just amazing. Wow.
That
Yeah.
that is.
And yeah, and you think about, I think of all the colds, the respiratory stuff, the colds, strep, heavy metals, bacterias, just all these things that the red door gives you an opportunity to help, that's been challenging their body. I am in awe of it always, and I'm so grateful that I have such a wonderful tool. Clearly, I got 13 of them. I happen to think that they are amazing, and I wouldn't be doing it and talking about it if I hadn't seen evidence after evidence of how wonderful it helps the body and helps animals and helps plants and it helps the house. And like, I have sold property too. I just didn't say it, Laura. I've helped a house sell within 2 days as well. It's just amazing. The red door. Okay, the red door did it. It's, yeah. I have more stories, but I'm going to end there today for mine. But yeah, I would like everybody to have this opportunity to at least consider uh, this healing modality in their lives. Yeah. Thank you, Kay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Beautiful. Thank you. Anybody else? Laura. Okay. Laura raised her hand too. You go ahead, Kay.
Okay. I'm going to go with uh, the another animal, a horse, and somebody's professional vegetable garden. And they it wasn't just plants; there were chickens and the stuff like that too. So we'll start with the horse. The horse went lame, and they got the vet out, and it seems that the horse had a bone spur, a big one, a bad one, and they were thinking of putting the horse down because there's not much they could do under certain circumstances. They can't operate and make the horse any better. They came to me, they found me somehow, and I worked on the horse. It wasn't very long. I didn't get to work on the horse all that long. The bone spur just disappeared. It just and you could see it in the X-rays that it got smaller and was gone. And it seemed, I know it was quite a few years ago, but this was just a few days, maybe a week, and that bone spur was gone. The horse was just happy as could be and frisky and jumping around and running and being very youthful and spry. And the people were happy because I think that horse lived for quite a bit longer. And I've worked on a number of different people's plants, gardens, other animals. You can work on any of these things. Even you could work on a big plot of acreage that has been plowed and used all of the chemicals, non-organic gardening kind of ways of doing things. You can still work on that place. And if you have all the right rates and everything, you can help clean the soil out of, pull the poisonous pesticides and fertilizers and things out, and you can add moisture and literally make the soil wetter, moisture. And it's all just the broadcast is pulling the moisture into them, into the soil. There's so many things you could do with it. Well, I worked on this garden. There were all kinds of things that were dying. The soil was dying. And and they were getting some bad worms and bugs, and I guess they had a rabbit problem too, if I remember right. It was a rabbit or a gopher. Somebody managed to wiggle their way into the garden and mud their free lunch. Uh, and they don't mind feeding the other animals, but they'd rather have them eat the stuff that is on the other side of the fence, their side of the fence, and they planted things for them out there. But you know how nature is. People and animals will get curious and want things that are on the other side of the fence. Anyway, everything cleared up in the garden, and the plants got very deep roots and very rich soil and moisture. There's more moisture in the air. It rained more. Actually, when you get more plants growing and there's a lot of greenery, and you actually will attract rain more. So you can change the weather to a degree with whether you have these kind of plants there or you don't have them. And so their garden got a lot healthier, and they were able to just use everything natural bugs, or trying to add some snakes or frogs or birds or things into their garden area to eat things that would be harmful, like the snails. And this place had earwigs. It was in that part of the country. It was very new and different for me at the time. That was my first big garden. And they were able to make a really good crop in time, and then they made a decent amount of money from their crop because that's how they lived. That they're farmers, did a lot of selling to the farmers market kind of thing. That's that.
Great stories. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Laura.
Yeah, I've done gardens too, Kay. We had 43 acres and yeah, and chickens and our goats. We've used it on a lot of that. I have a cat who is now 19, but she wouldn't be alive. She got kicked out of the vet when she was about 3. They didn't want they called her Crazy Gracie. She was like too much of a slasher for the vet. And they actually found out it was cheaper to have a bowl than all the vet bills my cats were in vet and my goats were getting me into. But the one topic we haven't discussed yet, the big C word, cancer. And I know all of us have worked on clients with some form of cancer. I had a person who came to me, and she'd already had, at the point she came to me, she was already scheduled for a double mastectomy. They found a tumor in her breast, and it was quite large and aggressive. And so the plan was double mastectomy and chemo, maybe radiation too, and hormones, the works. Basically, they were signing her up for the works, and she had learned about me from a friend who also does bowl work. And so we got on her right away, started working on her right away, and doing everything she was going through with the surgery. So we were doing not only things to treat the cancer, but to help her heal from all the surgeries and prevent infection. And it's painful, man, what she was going through. Or what they told me, they give you a double mastectomy and they send you home. It was just like home to her husband, who was, had no idea, the type. She had tubes for drainage and pain. And anyways, it was huge learning why you stay healthy, why you use the bowl for detoxing, so none of that ever enters your life to begin with. But what was really cool is we kept working on it, because it was like 3 weeks before her surgery, or 4 weeks. It was closer to 3 when we got started. When she got out of the surgery, she contacted me as soon as she could. And she said, Laura, they already said that the tumor they removed was already smaller, significantly tiny, not this big thing that they'd seen. The tumor they took out was small, and they're saying there must have been a shadow on the x-rays. because what was like huge was like tiny now, but it was still they had to wait a few days to test the tumor to know what kind of post chemo radiation, what was in her body. They do blood work, but like 11 days, I think it was. And so during that 11 days, I took another bowl and started broadcasting to the tumor. It was outside the body, but it was less like, because that would dictate what was happening in our body. And so the two things would be tested. And so I was still working on her body, helping her heal, trying to look for cancer cells. And anyways, they post the biopsy, no radiation, no chemo. She ended up not there, like, and it was funny, even that they gave her some hormones, but it was a weird kind of prescription. We really don't know that you need them, but we're going to have you take them anyways. And that woman now has 2 bowls for herself that she manages and works on. It wasn't just, she noticed right away because of those coherence programs, how good she felt. She went from fear, all the cancer fears, all the fears of what was going to happen to her family. Just in the second she hit the bowl, and when we got ready to do the surgery, she's less like, I got this. This is not going to take me. I'm doing everything I can and everything. This is not the end of my story. And that was as much the broadcast of coherence for her, just strength, and the surgery, post-surgery, the healing. She had some therapy and some other things, but the scar tissues were mobile and better than anybody was expecting. The sores healed up, the pain, we helped manage the pain of the surgery, and she was off and on Tylenol and then off that very quickly. They were just shocked that she didn't use all the drugs that they were expecting her to use. So yeah, and she's still doing really well. It's never come back. No sign of it to this day. There's not, that was 4 years ago. No sign. Thank you, Kay.
What a great
I
story.
know too.
Beautiful.
I just have to say for myself, it's between Kay and these bowls, my life was saved. I saw naturopaths. I wasn't feeling good in my 40s. I wasn't feeling good in my 30s. And I started seeing doctors, and everybody gave me directions that ended up making my health actually worse. Even my naturopath was putting me on diets and gave me I took a blood test for food allergies, and years later I doused and used the bowl for allergies, and they were much more better. They weren't just a blood test. They really looked at the holistic side of the body. But when I came to Kay worked on me first with the bowls. She saved my life. She found things. She was the first to say, you're pre-diabetic. I was probably 110 pounds at the time. No one tells you you're diabetic when you're 110, and they definitely don't test you for it. I'd never been tested. Kay told me I was heading quick towards Alzheimer's if I didn't change my life and my lifestyle. And she found mercury and other metals in my body that nobody had known about, and started me down this path that I can look back and see. My husband just brought up a photo of us a few years ago, and I'm like, we were so bloated. I'm like, because it was just inflammation everywhere. It's just, and we're just like Helmut, just like you guys. Reg and I, we had to tell people we're grandparents the other day, and they were just shocked. When I tell people I'm in my 50s, they're like, what? We're Benjamin Buttoning, if you've watched that movie. He was born old and he's going back and getting younger. It's not that age isn't happening. It's just, there's this beautiful health that's happening. And there's more things we just keep chipping at that I've been told were impossible to correct. And I just don't believe in that anymore. I just throw it in the bowl and wait and see. So thank you, Kay. Thank you, Helmut. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Laura. Beautiful. Oh, I know we have seen the bowls. We see the bowls in the background of the Loras. But Kay, would you hold up one instrument so people know what we're talking about? There it is. That's the magic instrument.
And inside the bowl is a piece of paper with a picture of the earth on it. So it's earth healing. And that's what we do when we are not using the bowl, letting the bowl rest. It just keeps working. It doesn't run out of energy because it's not plugged into anything. And it doesn't need batteries or anything like that. It works because of the geometry. It's sacred geometry that comes out of the sacred teachings. And that's what makes the scalar wave, what makes it work. I wanted to say just a quick something about allergies and treating allergies. And the way I've done a lot of it is with reagents, which means you take a little tiny piece of something that you're allergic to, and then you put the rates or the words in about allergies and antidote, please antidote this, please clear allergies, whatever you want to say. And you put that reagent sample and any words, rates in with the bowl, and it's it slows them down and sometimes it stops them completely. It's it just depends on a lot of different circumstances of the moment. But I used to have utterly horrendous allergies as a kid and growing up and through the early part of my life, just horrendous. Had to be on medication when it was allergy season. And it's debilitating, it's tiring, and it gets really boring. After many years, you're like really tired of that all those symptoms and those reactions to things. And I developed the sensitivity to perfumes and smells and chemical smells in from paints and all that kind of stuff. And so I get a sample of that. I have these little jars, and I get a little sample, and I put it in the bowl, and it's just gone. It's gone within minutes. We had workmen here at one time, and they had a lot of perfume on. And it's a cultural thing here in New Mexico. The Mexicans, especially the men, love their different perfumes, and they come highly scented to work on your house. And the whole house was filling up with it. And so I asked each one of them to gave them some scissors, and I said, take your shirt and go to the seam, and where it can't be seen or ruin your shirt, cut me this little tiny piece of, just need this little teeny piece of fabric. So I got my fabric from each one of them, put it in the little glass tube, plopped it in the bowl, and then I was fine. I was all okay. There's so many different things that you can do. I've had sometimes I used people's vitamins or their pharmaceuticals that they were taking. I had the actual pill and put it in the tube and put it in the bowl and broadcast it to them, and they didn't have to swallow it anymore. But the broadcasting broadcasted the stuff it needed to, but the harmful things just didn't make it through. They didn't get broadcast. Interesting what that bowl does and the possibilities of what it can do.
Beautiful, Kay. Thank you. Great stories. I have a couple of things. Occasionally, we get requests from people, give me the measurements so I can make my own. I can't believe it. It's, there's 40 years of studying the ancient teachings, two big ancient teaching traditions, the Peruvian and the Egyptians. And that where this instrument comes out from. That's the background that Kay had that enabled her to develop it. So yeah, you can try. We do not give out the measurements, but you can try to make your own bowl and see how it goes. But there's a lot more to it than making a bowl, and even making the bowl, the material, the exactness of the measurements, the colors, to be able to make the exact shape that makes the patterns, that does what it does. You can't just throw a bowl together and have it sitting and do anything close to what this one does. Anyway, beautiful stories. One story I want to add in here before we close out, and that's my sister's, because it's such another amazing story. Kate, you want to go there?
You start. You tell one.
Okay. All right. I told the one with her main artery in her heart, and she was supposed to get a stent. She was scheduled, actually. She was scheduled for a 10-hour surgery. And there is, I don't know the exact number, but the survival rate is almost like maybe, because it's such a delicate surgery, and then you're under for 10 hours. She called us again, and we put her in a bowl, and they did another test before she went into the surgery, before they went to the actual surgery. And then the doctors came back and said, we have not seen any further degradation. So we would recommend not taking the risk and not doing the surgery. And now I don't know how many years later, but I talked with her yesterday, and she's just doing great. Beautiful story. It's amazing what you can do, how you can help people. You want to add something to that?
You had a second story? Which story was that one?
I didn't have a second story. That was my story with her. The second thing was about people asking for the measurements
Oh,
so they make their own bowl.
okay. So with the family is, since I've had bowls that actually worked and I could really do stuff with them, and I was building my collection of them. And when I finally had enough, each family member could have their own bowl and always be in the bowl and be treated for either just some common kind of things or boosting, or if a problem comes up, we arrange that bowl to deal with just the problem. All of our family members, his and mine, with all their different problems, have been in the bowls, and they have their own bowl. Even all the pets all have their own bowls.
Family members.
Yeah, they're important to us. There's so many stories in there of them getting better. And Walter's mother, the one who was washing the walls, they were farmers. They have a farm that they work on every day. They're out there and they're in the dirt and all this stuff. And she had some kind of a sore on her leg that the doctors couldn't get rid of. It wasn't cancerous, but it wouldn't go away. And so she got a hold of us and had me work on it. And it was nematodes, a specific kind of nematodes from the soil. And they can be tenacious, not their natural environment to get in your skin. But if they do, they could be very tenacious. And that was an interesting one, working on that.
Okay. Beautiful. Everybody. You want to jump in, Laura?
Yeah, I got one more I want to share. I was just thinking
Okay.
of this because of that story you just shared. I accidentally walked upon a hornet's nest. And I had several stings on my belly area. And then in the process of, I mean, they were getting me all over the place. And I had 3 on my head and I was trying to get them off. In the process of get them off there, I squished one of them. And so I took that little carcass and put it in a little bag and put the antidote in there. And usually if get stung, it would swell up and be red and hard and just itch eventually and just ache. And I put that antidote in there and I didn't have any response whatsoever to the stings. It's like, it was amazing. Usually I'd swell right up and I had 4 or 5 stings and no reaction. It hurt right at first, but as soon as I put that in the bowl, the reactions went away.
Takes it
I was like,
away. And
yep.
I've put them in the bowl, the ants and the bees and the stink bugs and whoever else is crawling around back there on the patio from time to time. And I put them I managed to get carcasses and collected them and put them in there. It was just centipedes and millimedes and all of them that live around here. And so I've got little jars with all of them. And I put them in the bowl with a message of thank you very much for not coming into our yard and our patio or our house or on the humans. That this is a human nest. And thank you so much for not invading our nest. And it worked for the gophers too. And because I got samples from the gopher holes and the mouse holes and the bunny holes and whoever else is out there. I don't know what some of their names are. So they all got in a jar or two and with the same kind of a message, and it works. And in summer, we leave our doors open and the windows open because the house could get really hot. We need the crossing air. Rarely do we ever get anything coming in. Yeah.
Just
Okay.
so amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you again. We have a lot more stories, but I think we should leave this here for now and then just do another one. Will just be as amazing. But thank you. Any last thoughts you guys want to add?
Come on
Okay.
and join the fun.
Yeah. You
No limit.
okay? Go ahead, Laura.
Oh no, we're still learning the amazingness of it. We just keep exploring. Kay keeps writing great new programs. Come on in. If we missed a success story, you'll hear it next time. And trust me, this is covered far more than we've talked about today.
And there's a lot of practitioners out there with similar stories. We hope to eventually get them on the camera too, but we'll see. And if you want to catch the Red Door mini course live, you see the QR code to register to get there or the link below. As I said, it'll be taught early next month live. It's free. And then after that, if you watch this video after that and you want to catch it, it'll be there. The recording will be there for you. Thank you so very much. Really beautiful stories, beautiful work you're all doing. And thank you, Kay, for putting this together, for studying for the Peruvian tradition, healing tradition, and the Egyptian healing traditions for God knows how many decades, and then just coming up with this thing that's out of this world.
Comes out of the sacred knowledge, and that sacred knowledge is correct and it's accurate. And if you follow it, you come up with all kinds of cool stuff. It's a reason those people had those kind of symbols and revered them so much and put them in their architecture and in their artwork. and they were considered sacred, very sacred. Sometimes they were only allowed to be seen on an altar, and not by anybody, but those who were part of the group or the family and part of the priesthood or that kind of thing. And it's real. It works.
Okay. Thank you again. For the people watching, we hope to see you in the course. And so hop on there, register, and we look forward to sharing more about the Red Door and the programs and the pendulums and how you do it and stuff. Did I mention it's a free course?
Very important.
Okay. Thank you again so much, Laura. Okay. Love you. Love everybody. See you next time.